Welcome to the Dominate Your Niche podcast with me, Ruth Ferreira. Here we chat to some of today's best small business leaders, individuals who are shaking up their industry and dominating their niche. The show tackles all things business growth, from strategy, marketing and branding, and delves into the secrets of what it takes to dominate your niche. The aim of this podcast is to empower founders with big dreams, small and micro businesses, and even solopreneurs who are looking to make a big impact. People who are hungry to learn from those who have gone before them and implement that knowledge to next level in their own business. So welcome, lean in, and then go take action to propel yourself towards dominating your niche in your small business. Welcome to the latest episode of the Dominate Your Niche podcast with me, Ruth Ferreira. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to Zoe Cairns, the founder and CEO of ZC Social Media, an agency with a vibrant online community of over 100,000 people. Zoe is also the founder and CEO of the Credibility Formula, coaching speakers to build their confidence and secure paid speaking engagements. She offers one-to-one bespoke training and consultancy, and she leads the ZC Social Media Growth Academy, helping business owners to grow their online presence. Zoe is a published author, recognized as a top voice on LinkedIn, and she's made appearances on BBC, ITV, BBC World News, and she's had the absolute privilege of speaking for NATO. One of the most gorgeous conversations I have had on my podcast, and I cannot wait for you to listen. Hi, Zoe. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Ruth.
Oh, you're super welcome. So, Zoe, we have a lot of mutual friends, and it's fair to say that you have built yourself quite the significant fan base over the years, and you've got lots of different business interests. So what I would love to know is a bit about your business journey and how did you build to where you are today?
Oh, it's a really good question. I could probably sit here for days telling you about this, but I'm going to give you the shorter story.
Love it.
I literally started as a mortgage broker back in 2003, come out of university, and I always wanted to really be an ugly Betty in the city doing programming and websites. That was my dream role. But actually, when it come to getting a job, the people that were looking for website designers were looking for first-class students because the dot-com boom was all happening. It was massive at the time. So I ended up in a small mortgage broker's in Gravesend and I loved it. I thought it was great. There was great ambition. But the recession hit in 2008 and it wasn't as easy anymore for you to go and get clients. So clients used to come to us, used to do the mortgages. And then when the recession hit, it's then that I was like, I said to my boss, because my boss used to provide me the leads, it was great. He said, you've got to go and start getting your own leads. And I thought, how am I going to do this? And he said, you've got to go and network. And the thought of networking just was daunting. I was like, how am I going to network and stand up and do six?
Or like what even is networking, I guess, at the time. And how old were you at the time?
Oh, so then I must have been around 23, 24.
Okay, so quite young.
Yeah.
It's quite a scary proposition.
Yeah. And I was always self-employed anyway. I've never really been employed, so I've not really experienced that before. But so, he told me about networking and my friend told me about Facebook and she said, go on Facebook. But I went on there and there was people in fancy dress outfits on nights out. And I was like, how am I going to use this for business? But to my amazement, what I did is I went on there and used Facebook just like I would Google, and I typed in the search bar property investors because I was working with people that were buying buy-to-lets and HMOs. And I typed in property investors, and all of these groups of property investors appeared, and I thought, wow, there's my target audience. Like,
I love it.
this is
And I have to
great.
say, that is very clever, by the way.
Yeah,
Most people I know have not been that clever with Facebook. Definitely not back in the day.
No, back in the day, I know. And there were so many groups. Like you go on there and I got told off for spamming the groups and I soon learned along the way, but I loved it. The social media side I loved. I started to generate my first client through social media was that I put in there, I'd love to someone had put, can I mortgage a property above a laundrette? And I was like, yes, you can, but I can't give you advice online. So literally they called me and it was my first lead. And I absolutely loved that. I didn't really want to carry on doing the mortgage stuff because it did get tough. one day I said to my boss at the time, I'm really thinking about setting up my own social media company in 6 months' time. But I want to build up my commission pot before I leave.
Yeah.
He handed me a box and said, "You can go now." And literally that's what happened. So I literally
Wow.
my fate happened on that day rather than 6 months' time. And that's how I started with ZC social media. And I think my biggest thing of how I grew and how I've got to where I am in terms of audience and visibility is purely by getting myself out there, not just using social, but doing face to face. When I speak, I always make sure that the audience there come and connect with me afterwards. So my growth has purely been through, really taking advantage of those opportunities that are in front of you and seeing, what is it that I can not always get. I'm about adding value and delivering the best of my ability, but how can I then utilize that opportunity to help me grow as well?
I
And
love it.
that's
Now,
what happened.
let's come back to the early days because you said
Yeah.
I got visible.
Yeah.
Tell our listeners more. So this was a while back, wasn't it? This
Yeah.
was
Like 15 years ago. So
15
when I
years
first
ago.
started the business, yeah.
And when you say I got visible, what did you do to get visible?
Oh, so I did excessive networking. So I was networking everywhere to the point that my husband now, Gareth, would say, "When are you going to get some work done? Like you are networking everywhere." So the first few years of my business, I was networking at every single networking event you could think of. And then I evaluated at the end of those, like what's actually worked for me.
Yeah,
Am I building the biggest network and the most valuable network? It's not about quantity, it's about quality. So
yeah.
I did networking, I spoke wherever I could, even though in the early days I disliked speaking. I was the girl at school with her head in the book, just didn't want to get up and speak. So I would say to the networking event, "Can I do 10 minutes?" Or as I started to build that up, 10 minutes then turned into someone wanting a 20-minute speaker or someone to do a workshop. So that visibility then very much was all about offline rather than about me really utilizing the online as well, if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
the mixture of all of them getting out there and doing that. And then I had then thought about, okay, the other way that I can get in front of people that aren't on social is via press, via magazines
Mm,
and newspapers. And back then, magazines and newspapers wanted your content. They wanted, what's your story? What can you tell us? How can we add value to our readers? So I looked for every opportunity I could. I literally would sort of like stalk the local journalists and reporters saying, "Oh, I've noticed this story. I can report on this." And I just
amazing.
know how to do PR, but just reaching out basically. And that's how it all began. And what really accelerated my visibility. So, a couple of scenarios here was I was on LinkedIn. I'd done a bit of speaking. I thought I really want to do international as well. And I had this guy from Belgium message me, Maritz, and he said, "I want to fly you out to Poland to speak." And I was like, "Perfect."
Wow. And
I,
sorry, I just want to take you back to that moment. What was your initial reaction to that?
well, first of all, I thought this can't be real. You think this has got to be one of those
Yeah.
fan messages. But I was like, wow, I set a goal and this has now happened. And I thought now I've got to deliver it. It's like a big thing.
Yeah.
And when he said, like, "I'm going to fly you out," Gareth, he was flying out with me, and he said, "I'm going to pay you. You can stay a local hotel and pay for all your accommodation and stuff." And when I had a call with him 2 weeks before the presentation, he said, "You're going to be speaking on a panel with BBC and Avon, head of,"
Wow.
and I was like, "Oh, this just got really serious." So it
And
was
what I'm
amazing.
hearing is there was imposter syndrome there.
Oh yeah.
Is
I
that fair
always
to say?
Yeah, I always have that. I mean, as I've gone through my business, you always have that in like, am I good enough? Am I enough? Am I going to add value? And I think for me, when I first started my speaker career, I was very much like that. It's not so much now because of the feedback and the work
Mm.
that I have done. But for anyone starting out and looking to grow, you're always going to have in the back of your head, am I worthy? Am I good enough? Is what I'm going to deliver good enough? And I think that that actually makes you stronger. It actually drives you to look at feedback or get feedback from the people that you've spoken to and the organizer. I think that's really important. It really helps you along your journey. So yeah, the imposter syndrome, definitely.
Interesting. And was that your first paid speaking gig, that one in
That was my
Poland?
first paid speaking gig. And from that, I got another speaking gig from someone that was in the audience that then really accelerated my visibility. And the guy in the audience was Frankie from NATO. He was there and
Wow.
I know, wow, it was amazing. And he was like, you've done a really great job and I'd love you to come and do some speaking for us and training. And
Oh my
that's what really
goodness.
accelerated and got the journalists from our local papers onto it. They're like, we need to write about this. And that's what really accelerated that journey.
That's amazing. I love that. Okay, so you grew your visibility through networking, through speaking, you reached out to your local press,
Yeah.
and you leveraged opportunities through LinkedIn. And I'm guessing you were very
Yeah.
visible on there.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that LinkedIn is your key platform, or are
I
you
would
on
say,
what?
yeah, LinkedIn for my personal brand is definitely the platform LinkedIn. For our agency brand, I would say it's Instagram and Facebook with a little bit of LinkedIn, depending
Okay.
on who we're trying to target. But being visible on LinkedIn was really important, especially I found that speaking and getting in front of people was my biggest lead generator for what I was doing. So reaching out, not just waiting for people to come your way, grabbing those opportunities when you see them is what's really worked well.
Amazing. So you have a social media agency, you've got a speaker program, you
Yeah,
do training and consultancy, you have a growth academy.
yeah.
How the heck do you stay on top of all of that? How do you manage it all?
I've got a really good team. Like my team is just amazing. It's taken us a long while over the years to get it right. And now I can honestly say we're really happy and content with the team that we've got. They're just great. And what's helped us do that is obviously building really good systems and processes. Without our S&Ps, I say, I don't know where we would be. Yeah, we use a really great tool called Notion. I don't know if you've heard of it, but
I've heard of it. I've never used it, but I've heard of it.
yeah, it keeps all of our S&Ps in place that all of us as a team can access them at any time, support each other, and yeah, to helps us grow.
I love it. And do you have separate teams for the separate businesses, or are you one team running all of those
Well, one team, because
businesses?
it's all under one, apart from the speaker program. So, speaker program's relatively new. So, at the moment, we're just growing that. But with the agency, yeah, we have one key team helping with all of that. They've each got their areas of expertise.
And how do you find how did you find the transition from solopreneur to now leading a team?
Oh, it was the most challenging thing ever because you go from you go from doing the things that you absolutely love every day, and then when you take a team on, you get so involved back into the day to day, as in a lot of the. So getting a team is about delegating, but before you do that, you need to be able to make sure that the team know what they need to do
Yeah,
and
you
how
need
they
to
do that.
make it easy for them to do
Yeah,
well
yeah,
and have everything in place. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And bringing the best out of them, being the best that they can be, and that they're
Mm.
happy and that they're thriving. And that's what's really important. So I found that really challenging to start with because I felt that I come out of the things that I love to do. And I almost felt that I was involved in too much around the team. And that's when we then decided to really bring in those systems and processes to help the team more effectively.
Love it. So, what advice would you give to somebody who's in that early stage of team growth? So they've got their first two, three, maybe even five people. What's your key wisdom?
Oh, key wisdom is even before taking on your first member of staff or team, I would say that I would write down all of the actions that you do and systemize them all, and the processes that you're looking for your team member to take on, that they know exactly the process, and you work
Mm.
with them over a certain period of time, so they truly understand, and they format it also. That's the other thing, is it might be good for you, that system and process, but for them it might not make sense. So it's
Mm.
actually making sure your processes are understandable to them, and they've tweaked it to how they um process it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. And can I just tell you, there's people listening to this who are literally feeling a bit sick right now. And for them, if you're in this position, yes, it's painful. Like we've all
Yeah,
been
yeah,
there,
yeah.
but it's so worth it when you come out the other side.
Yeah, yeah. And I've learned along the way, I felt like I'd become a HR manager. And I thought, I'm dealing with everyday situations, but actually I set this business up to do the things that I absolutely love. And we looked at outsourcing that HR aspect. And we had an amazing lady that become part of the team, a consultant that we worked with, who worked with us and the team, which has just been invaluable.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And I have to say, for a lot of people, one of the things they need to do fairly early on that they've not necessarily done yet is look at the things that they can outsource to free themselves up.
Yeah,
So for
yeah,
some things, it's compliance. So it's if you're
yeah,
building a team, you need to get HR right.
yeah,
It's very
yeah.
costly if you don't. Um, and for lots of people, they're doing the sort of £5, £10 tasks,
Yes,
and
yeah,
those
yeah,
need to go to somebody who's on that sort of £5, £10 for that amount of time pay
yeah,
rate.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas if you're running the business, you need to free yourself up to bring in the things that are going to pay you.
Yeah,
At the
yeah,
end
I
of the
agree.
day, we're running a business. We're not running a charity. So you need to be available to grow the business.
Totally agree. And one of the biggest tips that I was told a previous mentor of mine was amazing. And he said, when you're going through your everyday tasks for the next 14 days, I want you to write down every task that you do. And I wrote it down on a flip chart. And he
Were,
then
were you open to this, by the way, or did you just give
Yeah,
them
I was like, oh, but I was open to it.
yeah.
But I wrote it all down, and he said highlight all of the ones that don't really make you any money, that you're spending on sort of like not dead time, but it's things that need to be done but could be outsourced.
Yeah.
And so I
Doesn't need to be
highlighted
you.
them. Yeah, yeah. And
And
it
there's
was
a
great.
lot, isn't there?
Yeah, there was loads. When I actually delegated them in the end, I was like, wow, I've got so much time.
Yeah, so
Great.
much time. I love it. I love it. If you're looking to grow your business, I have something that may change your life. The Success Method course is for small business owners who would like to take their business and their profits to the next level in the next 12 months. Click the link in the show notes to find out more. So, with all of this stuff going on, I know you've had to stay quite strategic
Yeah.
to make sure that you are hitting your goals. So tell me about your strategy and how that being strategic has been key to getting you where you want to be.
Yeah, I love strategy. It's one of my favorite things. In my early years, I would say I didn't really have a strategy when you first set out in business. And I think I was about 28 when I started my business, and I didn't really have any mentors at the time. But strategy for me, I spend probably around October. I will then start thinking about the following year. And I would have mapped out my 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. But then I really focus on my 1 year of where I need to be. So where have I look at reflection, where have I come in the last 10 months? Where do I want to be? What didn't go as well? Went really well? And then I start to map out between October and December my key goals, what I initially need to achieve next year to achieve what I ultimately want to achieve. And then I break it down into tasks. Like I break it down into strategies and actions of what I then need to carry out. So I know that my first 90 days of the year, I've already got those actions in place to start implementing.
Amazing. And just looking at the calendar, you are 2 weeks in. So this
Yeah.
actually, I think this is going out on Friday. So you are 2 weeks in. Are you already accelerating into your 90 days?
Yeah, I'm already accelerating. I've already done my 2 weeks, if that makes sense, and then
Yeah.
work next week. Always try and keep ahead. In case if I have anything go on, anything happen that I think actually a couple of days might be pushed out somewhere, at least I'm still ahead, still ploughing
I
forward.
love it. I love it. You are a woman on a mission, aren't you?
I love being mapped. I'd hate to not have a plan. I think I'd be overwhelmed and all over the place.
Amazing. So, what is the one thing you wish you'd known before embarking on your business journey?
Oh, um, what would I wish I'd known? Oh, that's a really good one. I suppose it would be the power of my network. Well, I pretty much knew that already when I was in the mortgage broking world because network was so important. Um, I think it would, do you know what? I think saying no is a big one for me.
Yes,
I was always one that would say, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. And over the last few years, I've said, no, I've got to say no more. Because I just become where I was then like really busy thinking, why am I so busy doing things I probably shouldn't really be doing? And over the last couple of years, I've learned to say no more. And that's my thing for this year as well. But if I only I'd known that if I'd said no earlier on, it would have made a big difference to where I am today.
I love it. Well, honestly, I think you're doing pretty flipping well from what I
Oh,
can see.
thank you.
So, congrats. Um, can you tell me about a time that you failed in your business
Oh,
or personally?
yeah, there's probably quite a few fouled.
And
Um,
don't be scared to be vulnerable. You know, there's
but
only
yeah,
a load of strangers listening to this.
there's a really good one. There was an opportunity that come up, and it was with there was like a big funding project that was available via a college, and I said, oh, this would be really good, and it's where we could offer educational certified courses through a educational body, and I thought it was a really great opportunity. And it actually went pear-shaped. We lost thousands of pounds through
Yes.
what happened. They couldn't, basically, what happened, they couldn't keep up with the amount of people that we were putting through the courses in terms of the back end and the paperwork. So because we can fill rooms quite well,
Mm,
just wasn't that back end support. Now, when I failed and I learned by that experience, I realised that actually on it wasn't down the path of where I really wanted to go. So I failed based on that actually I should have assessed the opportunity and was it in the path um, of my vision. Does that make sense? So actually, if
yes.
I assessed it and I should have said no.
Yes, I hear
Does that
you.
make sense? So
But it's
yeah,
interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes these opportunities come up,
yeah,
and sometimes it's that shiny object, and you're like,
yeah, yeah,
wow, that's
yeah,
amazing. And it's just sometimes just having the space to say yes to those
yeah,
things can be life
yeah,
changing.
yeah.
But at the same time, sometimes having the wisdom that, the
Yeah.
foresight to say no can also be life changing.
Yeah, and Gareth would probably say to me, "Well, that's not really a failure," and I'll say, "Well, to me it is because I should have seen my vision more clearly, and it wasn't on that path." So yeah, that's a big learning for me.
Mm. And that's one of the things as a business owner is a lot of the time we don't get it right.
Yeah, yeah,
And as long as we are learning, like using that
yeah,
information and
yeah,
moving forward, like that's all that we can do.
yeah, definitely.
Love it. Okay. So if you could give yourself some advice 20 years ago. So I actually don't know how old you are, but I'm imagining this is pre Zoe Cairns social media,
Yeah, yeah,
even pre mortgage
yeah, yeah.
business. What would it be?
Oh, I probably would have gone straight into setting up my business straight away. Although I say that, because the mortgage broking business, my boss at the time was a really great mentor. So I wouldn't have known half of the things. I think that was true lessons there. It probably would be, I don't know, learn by my mistakes and go forward and just go for it and don't waste time. Like, don't doubt yourself, allow what needs to happen in order for you to grow. I think that's what my advice be. And the other thing is don't worry about what other people think. I think I stewed on that for years, worrying about what other people think. And I'm thinking they probably don't worry about what I'm doing. So why don't I just plow forward and just grow and, grow quicker. I think I would have grown much more quicker.
I love it. I love it. And isn't it interesting that the power of hindsight?
Yeah.
So if Zoe, the same one you're giving that advice to 20 years ago, if she were to knock on your front door right now,
Yeah.
what would her reaction be?
Oh, it's a really good one because I sometimes think that when I look at reviewing and look at reflection over a 6 month or a 12 month, I always think, oh, I've not really achieved a lot this year. And Gareth will go, you've achieved this, this, and this. So if I was to weigh up what I have achieved, I think that I would say, wow, that's amazing. And anyone that listening who is just starting out their career or is halfway through or you're just about to leave your role, write a letter to yourself that you actually give to someone and they give it back to you like 5 years' time. I think that's so powerful.
Wow.
Because then you're like, actually, I have come far, or I think that's a great way to.
Goodness, I feel a bit emotional thinking about that. That's amazing.
And I do it every year with our Growth Academy members. So I got them to write it all at Christmas. Where do you want to be in a year's time? And then they seal the letter, they put sellotape on it so they know I'm not going to open it. And I give it back to them the following year. And it's just great to see how far they've come.
Honestly, I've got chills. I've got a little tear as well.
No, that's lovely.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, one final question for you.
Yeah.
So most successful people I know have certain daily habits that are almost like success rituals for them. Do you have any, and are you willing to share?
Oh, so mine is I read 10 pages of a book every day. Like I like to do that. I know there's like AI tools out there now that will summarize a book, but I love reading books. So for me, I need to read 10 pages of a really good business book every day, and I've got like a whole queue of them.
Amazing. What are you reading right now?
I'm reading 10X. Have you heard about it?
I have it somewhere and I've not read it. Is it amazing?
Read it. So it tells you how you can 10X what you're doing. I've only just started it because I was reading. Have you read Alex Hormozy, 100 Million Offers and Leads?
Yes, it's literally, you can see it behind me on the bookcase. For our listeners, because this is an audio only podcast, my bookcase is sitting just behind my shoulder.
So I'm reading 10X.
Yeah.
Started that one yesterday. I'm just starting to read that. So I do 10 pages of reading. And then my other one, I don't have too many habits. I'm not like a 5 a.m. person because I work really well. I'm a night owl.
Yeah.
But I I've got I don't know if you ever saw them, they're on Dragon's Den, and they were called the Head Plan. And they do like a journal, and it just sums up what happened today, what's my most memorable moment. And I just write in, and I've got like a gratitude rock. So I just write in what happened today, what's my reflection, did I achieve what I wanted to achieve, what's my memorable moment of the whole day, and then what am I going to do tomorrow. So I just do that for 5-10 minutes each day, and that's my my habits.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're most welcome.
It's been such a pleasure. You are an absolutely just beautiful person. I love that, I love the energy you have around you and everything that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much,
really appreciate you coming on here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for listening today. If you like what you hear, please hit subscribe and leave us a review. Even better, come connect with me, Ruth Ferreira, on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'd love to get to know you.